Exposed, the incredible, heartwarming journey of a Victorian baker's deadly secrets revealed. Eliza Hart stood in the warm embrace of her bakery, the Sugar Rose, a fairy tale haven nestled in the heart of Maplewood. Yet the sweetness of freshly baked cinnamon rolls couldn't mask the bitterness she faced. The charming town was changing, and whispers surrounded her like a storm. Her late husband, a veteran, had left behind more than just memories. He had left a legacy tangled in shadows, a past she could never truly escape. As she kneaded dough, her hands danced to the familiar rhythm of Grandma's recipes, every pinch of flour and dash of sugar a silent tribute to love and sacrifice. The comforting aromas filled the air, drawing in loyal customers. Yet, as the golden pastries emerged from the oven, their praise sometimes felt like mocking laughter against the backdrop of her fading storefront. The glitzy new café sprouted like weeds, leaving her nostalgic sanctuary threatened. "Why can't you update your shop, Eliza?" sneered one of the wealthier patrons while picking at a scone. A little modern touch wouldn't hurt. The hurt jabbed at her heart, a knife twisting deeper each day. One chilly autumn morning, however, the air turned cold with uncertainty. An injury to her pride had morphed into fears for her livelihood. Mysterious fires flickered to life in her ovens, and deliveries were sabotaged. Panic swept through her loyal customers, shadows of doubt creeping into her once bustling sanctuary. The whispers turned into accusations that roiled like the storm outside. "What's this dark secret tied to her husband?" they murmured. Eliza felt isolated. The warmth of her community was melting away like frosting on a hot summer day. Friends became distant, leaving her to bear the burden of a past that felt like an anchor dragging her down. Desperate to protect her family's honor, she embarked on a quest, a journey through dusty family logs and unseen connections, revealing not just her husband's unsavory past but the systemic injustices that affected many hard-working folks in her town. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In the midst of this chaos, a burst of hope emerged, an impromptu bake-off proposed by the local charity. This was her chance. With each delicate pastry she crafted, she poured out her grief and love. The townsfolk began to gather around her again, their belief ignited. For a moment, the air felt lighter, laughter bubbled, and the spirit of community flickered brightly, but as anticipation and tension filled the air, an anonymous note arrived, weaving its way into her heart like a vine of despair, threatening to peel back the layers of her husband's past. Would she risk everything to uncover the truth, or would she continue protecting a family secret at the cost of her community's faith? The warmth of the bake-off intertwined with the chill of uncertainty. Eliza stood at a crossroads, her heart thrumming with defiance. Would she let the shadows of the past pull her under, or would she rise, a beacon of justice and truth? The answer loomed just ahead, shimmering like a golden pastry, waiting to be unveiled. Eliza clutched the note tightly in her hand, its rough edges digging into her palm. The air in the Sugar Rose felt charged, almost electric, as if everyone around her was waiting for her next move. She could see the excitement in their faces, the way they chatted and laughed, their hopes resting in the cupcakes she had worked tirelessly to create. But beneath it all, doubt gnawed at her insides like an insatiable rodent. "Are you all right, Eliza?" asked Sarah, one of her most loyal customers, as she stepped closer, concern knitted on her brow. "You look a bit pale." Eliza swallowed hard, forcing a smile to her lips. "Just thinking about the bake-off. So much riding on it." Sarah scanned the bakery, eyes lighting up with pride as she saw the array of pastries lining the countertop. "You've poured your heart into this, and we're all here for you. Just remember, we believe in you." But did she believe in herself? As she stood there, the weight of the note dragged heavily in her chest. Who had sent it? What secrets lay buried, ready to be unearthed? The day of the bake-off dawned cloudy, mirroring her uneasy thoughts. Remarks from the past echoed in her mind, mocking her resolve, the wealthy patroness sneer, the whispers of betrayal. But today was about more than just her baking, it was about reconnecting with her community. She had to make them see the heart behind the sugar rose. With each passing hour, the bakery filled with the sweet scent of vanilla and chocolate. The townsfolk gathered, their faces alight with anticipation. Eliza felt their energy lifting her, pushing her forward. Her hands moved deftly, charming the cupcakes with colorful icing, each swirl a celebration of her love and resilience. As the bake-off commenced, the nervous energy turned palpable. Contestants lined up, showcasing their creations like warriors ready for battle. Eliza's heart raced as she watched her pastries vanish into eager hands. Laughter mixed with the scent of baked goods, it was a beautiful moment that almost made her forget the shadows lurking at the edges of her mind. Then, the judge stepped forward. Eliza's heart pounded in her chest. "And now, we have a special surprise contestant," he announced, his voice booming across the buzzing crowd. "A true Maplewood native, here to share a family recipe." The judge gestured to the back. Eliza's heart sank as she recognized the figure striding into view: Jasper, her late husband's childhood friend. The last she heard, he was living far away. What was he doing here? "I hear there are secrets, Eliza," he called out, a mischievous grin on his face. "And perhaps a few stories to tell." A hush fell over the crowd. She felt the waves of confusion and curiosity ripple through the audience, their eyes shifting between her and Jasper, awareness of her husband's past awakening. Eliza's heart raced. There was no turning back now. Standing there, battling the storm of feelings within her, she realized she had to confront the truth, whatever it might be. Would she finally uncover the story that had remained hidden for too long, or remain shackled to fear? As Eliza deliberated, a flicker of hope ignited. Maybe this was finally the opportunity she needed. Could the bake-off unite the town and offer redemption for her family? Just as she was about to step forward, a loud crash echoed from the back of the bakery, and all eyes turned in horror. What had just fallen? And with it, what new revelation awaited her? Eliza's heart skipped a beat as the crash echoed through the sugar rose. The sound was thunderous, a shattering of glass, and the room went silent, every face turned towards the chaos brewing in the back. A display of vintage cake stands had toppled over, frosting-covered cakes splattered the floor. That wasn't just a mishap, it was a catastrophe at her most crucial moment. To add to her anxiety, she saw Jasper's brows raised in mocking surprise, his grin widening at the pandemonium. "Hang tight!" shouted Sarah, rushing towards the mess, her voice breaking the thick tension in the air. Eliza could see the concern etched on Sarah's face as she waded through the crowd, determined to help. The crowd murmured, a blend of shock and confusion. A few patrons leaned in, whispering, while others pointed. Eliza stood frozen, stuck between the reality of her bakery crumbling before her eyes and the secret that lingered in the air. What did Jasper know? What skeletons from her husband's past were threatening to emerge today, of all days? Before she could even comprehend her next step, Jasper walked towards her, still wearing that infuriating smile. "Looks like you've got a little chaos to manage, Eliza," he said, his voice smooth and disarming. "But, isn't this how great stories begin?" His eyes twinkled with mischief, but Eliza felt the heat rise to her cheeks, a rush of anger mixing with fear. "What do you want, Jasper?" Her voice came out steadier than she felt. He stepped closer, leaving a breath of cinnamon and nostalgia in his wake. "Isn't it obvious? I want to help you. But it seems the true story isn't just about recipes, it's about you, and what you've hidden behind your charm." Eliza clenched the note tighter, as if it could anchor her to the ground. "I haven't hidden anything," she shot back, though her heart thundered at the untruth. How could she explain the emotions swirling inside her: guilt, loss, and a desperate need for closure, before she could fend off his probing gaze, a voice from the crowd called out, "We want to hear the story." It was Sarah, her wounded spirit visible as she looked from Eliza to Jasper and back again. The bakery felt like a pressure cooker, the heat rising as impatient eyes lingered on Eliza. Every moment stretched infinitely, and she realized that the inevitable clash was coming, answers or the same shadows cloaked in her past. She inhaled deeply, collecting herself. "Okay, let us turn this back into a celebration." The words slipped out, both a challenge and an invitation. "I need to finish my bake-off. What has been hidden is part of who I am, and I won't let anything ruin that." Eliza turned back to her cupcakes, picking up a piping bag filled with vibrant pink icing. It felt grounding, her hands steadying as she began to create swirls of hope on the desserts. From behind her, Jasper's voice called out, tantalizingly close. "A story comes alive in layers. Much like frosting on a cake, don't you think?" She glanced sideways at him, caught between wanting to shove him out of her bakery and needing to know the truth he held. The crowd buzzed with anticipation, electrified by the tension thrumming in the air. Eliza's determination flared. "Let us see what the next layer of this story reveals." As she raised her voice to address the townsfolk, the floor beneath her seemed to tremble with secrets, a hidden truth waiting to surface. Just as she prepared to speak, a sudden shout from the back cut through the air, "Look everyone! The cupcakes, they're glowing!" What had she missed, and what revelation lay in the glow that had captured everyone's gaze? Eliza's heart raced as she spun around, eyes wide with disbelief. The cupcakes? Glowing? It was impossible. Yet as she turned, the air shimmered with a warm golden light that poured from her creations, capturing the attention of every patron in the sugar rows. Gasps echoed through the room like the rustling of leaves on a breezy day. Her carefully crafted desserts had transformed into something magical, a phenomenon that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Eliza stared at them, her mind racing. Was this some sort of trick? A clever prank by Jasper? "Are you seeing this?" Sarah exclaimed, her voice trembling with excitement. "They're beautiful." Eliza's breath caught in her throat. The glowing cupcake seemed to radiate a sense of warmth, beckoning curious eyes and hungry mouths. But as the allure captivated the crowd, Eliza's mind churned with unanswered questions. She had wanted to reclaim her bakery, to wrestle control back from chaos, yet here she was, stuck between awe and horror. "You should embrace it." Jasper's voice sliced through her inner turmoil. "This could be the key to your next chapter, Eliza. People will want more than just cake, they'll want your story." Reluctantly, she turned to him. His eyes sparkled with a blend of mischief and sincerity. "If you give them what they crave, authenticity, you might find more than just success. You might find freedom." Eliza swallowed hard, the weight of his words settling over her. But freedom from what? From the past that shadowed her every moment? Or from the guilt that gnawed at her heart? Suddenly, a little girl, no older than 5, pushed through the throng, her eyes wide with wonder. "Can I have one?" she asked, her voice sweet and innocent, as she pointed to the brightest glowing cupcake at the end of the display. The crowd melted away for just a moment, each person's focus narrowing onto the child. Eliza felt her own heart flip as she knelt down to the girl's level, her hands shaking. "Do you like them?" she asked, her voice gentle. "They're magical." The girl beamed, her smile lighting up the dim space. "Just like you." Eliza's chest tightened. "Just like you." Those simple words wrapped around her like a warm hug amidst the chaos. As the little girl reached out for the cupcake, Eliza's resolve shifted. Maybe, just maybe, this moment could be more than distraction. "Okay, sweetheart," she said, her voice firm yet soft. "Take it. But promise me, you'll share your magic with others." And with that, the girl's wide eyes sparkled even brighter. Eliza's cheeks flushed with warmth as she turned back to the gathered patrons. The sense of control and purpose began to seep back into her bones. Listen up, everyone. She called as the crowd swelled around her. Yes, there's a story to be told. These cupcakes, they might shine for now, but they hold more than just sprinkles and icing. They hold pieces of my heart and my journey. And today, we unveil that together. A ripple of anticipation coursed through the bakery. It was now or never. As she opened her mouth to share the deepest secret she had kept buried for too long, an unignorable crash rang from the side. Eliza jolted, the anxiety bubbling back to the surface. What could go wrong now? She glanced at Jasper, who wore an expectant look. The universe seemed to play a cruel game, daring her to face her past while the spotlight gleamed on her, drenching her fragile hopes in urgency. "Who's there?" she shouted, her heart pounding again. As the crowd gasped in unison, the door swung open, and a familiar face stepped through, one she hadn't seen in years. What did they want now? Would they shatter everything she had just begun to build? As all eyes turned, Eliza felt the weight of her choices crashing down around her. The moment of truth was arriving, and with it, the reopening of wounds long sealed. What would this new revelation mean for her and her story? Eliza felt her breath hitch, the room freezing in a moment of collective uncertainty. The familiar figure stepped closer, and recognition hit her like a tidal wave. It was Claire, her childhood friend, the one who had walked away without saying goodbye. Her very presence was a crack in the fragile dam Eliza had built around her heart. "Claire," Eliza said, unable to keep the tremor from her voice. The sight of her brought a rush of memories, both joyous and painful, flooding back at once. Just a glance, and she could see all those afternoons spent baking together, their laughter echoing through the kitchen. But also the silence that followed when Claire left, the unanswered questions. Surprise. Claire's smile was genuine, yet Eliza could sense the weight behind it. The crowd murmured, curiosity and speculation swirling like the flour dust from Eliza's mixing bowl. She could feel their gazes shifting between her and Claire, anticipation buzzing in the air like static electricity. Why now? Eliza's voice was barely a whisper, the joy of seeing her old friend dancing with the bitterness of rankling emotions. After all these years you just show up. I know, and I'm so sorry, Claire said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was caught up. I didn't know how to face you. But when I heard about your bakery. What do you mean, heard about my bakery? You've been gone. Eliza's heart raced, anger fizzling just below the surface. The glowing cupcake started to dim, flickering like her waning resolve. I came back to town not long ago, but I was scared. Claire took a hesitant step closer. I didn't know if you'd want to see me again. But then I saw the lights from across the street and I remembered everything we used to dream about. Eliza clenched her fists, battling the maelstrom of emotions. Dreams? You left, Claire. You could have stayed and helped stop. Claire's voice sliced through Eliza's mounting frustration. Just let me explain. I had my reasons, and I thought if I stayed away, maybe it would be easier for both of us. Easier? Eliza shook her head, memories of heartbreak rushing back, mingling with the bittersweet scent of her cupcakes wafting through the air. This wasn't just about the past, this was about everything that had been shattered and mended over the years. You have no idea what your absence has done, Eliza stated, her voice steadying. I've fought to build this place back up. I thought I had made peace with what happened, but now everything is unfolding before my eyes. The crowd had grown silent, enraptured by the drama unfolding before them. Their eyes were glued to Eliza and Claire, awaiting the answer to a question that hung in the air: would this reunion heal a long-broken friendship or expose wounds that had festered too long? Claire took another step closer, her expression softening. Maybe we can work together. Make this bakery what we always dreamed it could be. Eliza's heart thudded in her chest, her thoughts swirling. Could she trust Claire again? After all this time, all this hurt? Suddenly, a glimmer of doubt splashed over her like cold water. Doubt about the magic of her cupcakes, the love she had poured into them, and whether they were enough to bridge the gaps in their friendship. Eliza tilted her head, looking straight into Claire's eyes. Or maybe, she proposed carefully, we can't go back. Maybe it's time we figure out what the future looks like, without pretending we're those kids again. As the tension hung in the air like a delicate cake waiting for its icing, the crowd leaned forward, breath held. In that moment of quiet possibility, the door opened once more, a startling twist in the tale, and Eliza braced herself for the unexpected tread of fate entering her burgeoning story. What new revelation would step forward into the light? Would it bring shadows or clarity to Eliza's uncertain path? The door creaked open, and all eyes shifted towards the newcomer. A tall man stood silhouetted against the light outside, his face partially obscured. Eliza could only catch glimpses of his features, but something about his presence felt ominous. A chill crept down her spine. "Excuse me," the man said, his voice deep and steady. He stepped inside, shaking off the chill of the evening air. The room fell silent. "Is this the bakery run by Eliza Green?" "Yes," Eliza replied, her heart racing. She felt Claire's gaze shift between her and the stranger, a look of confusion present in her eyes. "Good," the man continued, taking a step forward. "I have something important to discuss with you." Eliza's pulse quickened. Was this another surprise? Or something more dire? "Who are you?" "My name is Adam Phillips," he said, his expression serious. "I'm a lawyer." The murmurs in the crowd grew louder. Eliza felt her throat tighten. What business would a lawyer have with her? "I'm here about your bakery and a matter of inheritance." Claire's eyes widened, and Eliza could feel her heart begin to falter. "Inheritance?" she repeated, the word tasting foreign on her tongue. "Yes," Adam confirmed, looking straight at her. "It involves your late grandmother Annabel Green. You might not be aware, but she left you everything. The bakery, the property, and a rather significant sum of money." Eliza felt the world tilt on its axis. She had grown up with her grandmother's stories, her laughter intermingled with the sense of flour and sugar. She had thought those days were long gone. But I thought my parents sold everything. Adam let out a sigh, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "That's what I'm here to clarify. Your grandmother had a will that was not acted upon. There are conditions, though. You must fulfill them to claim your inheritance fully." The room felt heavy, the air thick with tension. Eliza's mind raced. This was a chance to truly establish her bakery, but at what cost? What conditions would be imposed? "Wait," Claire interjected, concern etched across her face. "What kind of conditions?" Adam hesitated, weighing his words carefully. "You'll need to live on the property for at least the next 6 months to properly manage the bakery. Additionally, there's a community committee that will oversee your compliance with the business practices she had laid out." Eliza's heart sank. Living in the old family home would mean confronting not only her painful past but also the unresolved issues with Claire. Could they really work together again under those circumstances? Adam continued, unaware of the storm brewing between the two women. "If you choose not to accept this, the bakery and everything will revert to other heirs." A wave of emotions flooded Eliza: fear, anger, and a glimmer of hope. Could this be the chance she never knew she needed? But the thought of living under the same roof as Claire and dealing with the ghosts of their shared past was daunting. "What if I don't want to go back?" Eliza said, her voice trembling. The crowd held its breath, tensions fraught as they anticipated her next move. Adam's gaze softened. "You need to decide soon. If you walk away now, it may never come back. But if you believe in this bakery and in yourself, it could also open up a world of possibilities." Eliza felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. She could feel the eyes of the bakery patrons on her, expectant and filled with hope. "Think carefully, Eliza," Claire whispered, the tension between them shifting. Just then, another thought crossed Eliza's mind. What if they, perhaps together, could transform the bakery into something grander than she had ever imagined? But, did she trust Claire enough to embrace this opportunity? Eliza stood in the middle of a crossroads, her heart racing with uncertainty. What choice would she make? The future loomed ahead, tempting yet perilous. What if this wasn't just a business deal but a chance to rewrite their story? As the room held its collective breath, the stakes had never felt higher. What new journey awaited them in the wake of these revelations? Would their fractured friendship withstand the pressures of the past, or would the weight of old wounds drag them down? Eliza's pulse raced as she gazed into Adam's eyes, ready to confront what lay ahead, caught between a desire for connection and the fear of repeating past mistakes. What would she decide, and how would it shape not only her life but the lives of those she cared about most? Eliza stood there, the weight of Adam's words hanging heavily in the air. Time seemed to slow as she sifted through the whirlwind of emotions. Her grandmother's bakery, was it really hers? A part of her yearned to seize the opportunity, while another part of her grappled with the reality of facing Claire again. What if I don't want to go back? The question echoed, fragile yet resolute. Eliza searched Adam's gaze for answers, for clarity. Instead, she saw something else, a nugget of understanding that stirred her hope. Every family has its struggles, Adam said, his tone gentle. Your grandmother's will wasn't just about the bakery. It was about preserving the legacy she built, not only in terms of business but also in family. You have the chance to rebuild, to mend what was frayed. Eliza's thoughts flickered back to her grandmother's laughter, her warm hugs, the smell of freshly baked bread. Could she honor that legacy without sacrificing her own peace? Claire cleared her throat, breaking the spell. Are you saying we have to work together? Yes, Adam replied, looking between the two women. At least for the 6 months you will be on the property. It's essential that you unite in vision if you want the bakery to thrive. Eliza held her breath, her heart pounding even harder now. Claire's eyes were filled with a mix of hope and apprehension. They both understood they were two sides of the same coin, each fragile, yet yearning to shine. The silence was thick, filled with unspoken words, with memories of shared dreams and past hurts. Eliza finally spoke up, 6 months we need to set aside everything that happened before. Claire's expression shifted, revealing an openness Eliza hadn't seen in years. Maybe it's time we do. I want to help you. I really do. Adam nodded, pleased at the change in tides. The community will expect a united front. If you can show them that the past, while difficult, isn't an anchor but rather a foundation, you can make this work. Hope flickered, mingling with caution. Eliza imagined the bakery bustling with customers, laughter echoing like a melody she longed to hear again. Yet, an echo of doubt whispered in her mind. Was she really ready to dive back into the depths of her family history alongside Claire? As she stared at the floor, Eliza felt the eyes of her patrons steady on her, a collective energy rising in the room. They weren't just here for pastries, they were here to support her. To cheer her on. Okay, she said, her voice gaining strength. I'll do it. I'll accept the conditions. Claire's face lit up the moment Eliza finished speaking. Really? She asked, sounding surprised yet thrilled. Yes. But we must be honest with each other, no holding grudges. Adam smiled, relief washing over him. That's the spirit. If you can foster an environment of trust, you'll find that your love for baking can heal old wounds. Eliza took a deep breath. She felt a monumental decision ripple through her as she nodded. Maybe, just maybe, this was the first step towards rediscovery not just of the bakery, but of their fractured friendship and her own passion all over again. The crowd erupted in applause, their encouragement filling the room with warmth. Eliza's heart swelled, a mixture of excitement and trepidation coursing through her veins. Could this journey truly lead them to where they needed to be? But as the applause faded, a new whisper of doubt crept in. Were they ready to face the community's judgment, the shadows of the past? What would happen when the reality of their personal history collided with their dreams? Eliza's stomach churned as she realized the adventure ahead was fraught with challenges. Would their renewed partnership withstand the test, or would their past repeatedly rise to challenge their future? The moment of truth lay just ahead, and Eliza knew she needed to brace herself for the storms that were yet to come. How would they navigate this uncertain path? That was the question that lingered in the air, one that put her heart in a vice of hope and anxiety as she prepared to face the realities of rebuilding both her life and their friendship. Eliza stepped outside the bakery, the warm breeze brushing against her face like an old friend. The applause still rang in her ears, a spark of energy igniting her hopes. But outside, the world felt different. The streets were still alive with the hum of life, but for Eliza, everything now seemed to pulse with a new significance, a reminder of all that she had to face. "Are you okay?" Claire's voice broke through her thoughts, a mix of concern and sincerity that caught her off guard. "I think so," Eliza replied, turning to meet Claire's gaze. There was a flicker of vulnerability in her sister's eyes, a crack in the armor that had shielded their relationship for too long. "This is a lot to take in," she added, letting the weight of her emotions spill over. Claire nodded, her expression softening. "It is. But we're in this together now." Eliza hesitated, the memories of past arguments and silent treatments threatening to surface. Yet, she knew they had to be open. "We need to talk about Grandma. I mean, the bakery. Everything." Claire swallowed hard, nodding again. "You're right. So let us start with her recipes." They stood on the curb, the bustling community around them feeling both familiar and foreign. The path ahead looked daunting, but it was also a chance for renewal. Together, they walked back inside, the smell of flour and sugar wrapping around them like a comforting embrace. As they settled at a table tucked away in the corner, Eliza pulled Grandma's old notebook towards them. The pages were yellowed, crinkled, like the memories they contained. "This is where it all started," Eliza said, flipping through the pages. She poured her heart into these. Claire leaned in, tracing a finger over the familiar handwriting. "I remember the chocolate chip cookies," she chuckled, a spark of nostalgia lighting her eyes. "You always tried to steal them before they cooled." Eliza smiled. "You were the master of distraction. Always found a way to get the last bite." The laughter came easily, yet the heaviness lingered in the air between them. They still had scars, but perhaps they could start to heal through shared memories. "I know our past is messy," Claire said, her voice steady. "I want to move forward. I really do. But I also want you to know I regret how things ended between us." Taking a breath, Eliza nodded. "I do too. If we want this bakery to thrive, we have to be honest, no holding back. We need to forgive each other." That word hung like a fragile thread, woven through their conversation, creating a bridge they desperately needed. The bakery represented more than just a business. It was a family legacy, a chance for them both to rediscover themselves and each other. As they flipped through the pages together, all the memories they had coupled with the hope for the future began to blend into something beautiful. They marked a couple of recipes they'd try. First, a blueberry pie that always got raves, a classic buttercream that brought smiles to faces. Slowly, a feeling of camaraderie began to build as they traded stories of their grandmother's quirks and baking disasters, but as they resumed their planning, a sudden chill swept through the room, as if the universe was reminding them of the journey they still had to face. "What are we going to do when we face Mrs. Jenkins?" Claire asked, a shadow passing over her excitement. Eliza knew exactly what she meant. Mrs. Jenkins was the town's resident critic, a woman whose words could sway opinions and turn the tide against them. "We stand tall," Eliza replied, her voice stronger this time. "We'll show them we're a team. We will face this together." But deep down, doubt tugged at her heart. Could they truly handle the scrutiny? Would the community accept them? As they sat in the soft light of the bakery, Eliza felt a stirring of determination beneath the uncertainty. Together, they could face anything until the past came knocking once more, testing their resolve. The door chimed, and a familiar figure stepped inside. Eliza's stomach tightened. It was Mrs. Jenkins, her expression unreadable. This was just the beginning, and the weight of the past was heavier than ever as Eliza braced herself for what lay ahead. Was this the challenge that would break them, or would it forge a bond stronger than they ever imagined? Eliza's heart raced as Mrs. Jenkins advanced, her heels clicking against the wooden floor like a drumroll announcing an impending verdict. The woman's meticulous bun and sharp features cut an imposing figure. She owned the room with an air of authority that both intimidated and captivated. "Good to see the bakery is still standing," Mrs. Jenkins said coolly, her eyes scanning the space as if calculating its worth. "And I see you two have taken charge." Claire straightened, her expression a mix of determination and defiance. "We're ready to revive Grandma's legacy," she said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Mrs. Jenkins raised an eyebrow. "Is that so? Legacies can be tricky things to manage. Especially when they're built on fragile foundations." Eliza clenched her fists under the table. Fragile foundations? That felt like a jab meant for their hearts. "We've got this," she replied, trying to infuse her voice with confidence. "We'll bake with care, using Grandma's recipes." "And why should I believe that? Your grandmother had a way with baking that made people feel at home. But will you?" Mrs. Jenkins stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. "Can you truly handle the scrutiny that will come your way? Bakeries rise and fall like soufflés, dear." Every word felt like an ice cube sliding down Eliza's spine. She shared a glance with Claire, who was struggling to keep her composure. "We believe in her recipes and what they meant to the community," Eliza said, her voice gaining strength. "We want to contribute to our town together." "Ambitious," Mrs. Jenkins replied, a curl of her lip revealing doubt. "But ambition alone won't carry you through. Baking is more than following recipes, it's heart. It's spirit. Do you think you can deliver that?" Eliza and Claire exchanged a look in unspoken agreement that strengthened their resolve. "Yes," Eliza said firmly. "We can and we will." Mrs. Jenkins decided to step back, crossing her arms. "Well then, let us see what you're made of. I'll be watching. Do not disappoint me." With that, she turned and exited the bakery, leaving an uncanny silence in her wake. Eliza felt the weight of Mrs. Jenkins's words pressing down on her. Claire sighed, breaking the silence. Did she really have to make it sound like we were setting ourselves up for failure? "Some people thrive on discouragement," Eliza said, forcing a smile despite the unease resting in her stomach. "But we won't let her get to us. We're the next generation. We have to show everyone that we deserve a chance." With new determination sparking between them, they dove back into the recipes, discussing flavors and experimenting with techniques. They laughed as they recreated a cake that had once toppled, sharing stories of the disasters that Grandma had lived through. Yet, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue through the bakery windows, Eliza couldn't shake the feeling that doubt had been lodged like an unwelcome guest in her heart. "Are we really ready for this?" she questioned aloud, her voice quieter this time. Claire paused, her hands resting on the notebook. "Ready or not, we have to start. The only way is forward." Eliza looked around the bakery, imagining it bustling with life, filled with customers savoring morsels of their grandmother's love. But every warm thought was tainted by the anticipated critique waiting just around the corner. As if teased by fate, the door swung open again, revealing a wave of townspeople heading directly for the bakery. Curiosity sparkled in their eyes, many holding their breaths in excitement or perhaps judgment. Eliza's heart raced. Would they embrace the bakery as a tribute to their grandmother, or would they echo Mrs. Jenkins's skepticism? As the crowd moved closer, a more potent question surfaced in Eliza's mind. Were they truly prepared not just to bake, but to face their community and the past that had kept them apart? The moment awaited them, almost palpable in the air. Could this be the beginning of something beautiful, or would the shadow of doubt choke their dreams before they even started? Eliza stood in the sugar rows, the warmth of the bakery wrapping around her like a beloved quilt. The scent of freshly baked confections filled the air, and the atmosphere buzzed with a mix of hope and trepidation. She and Claire had come so far, but the path ahead was still shrouded in uncertainty. Today was the day. The community, drawn by the glow of her magic cupcakes and the hope for a rebirth, filled the small shop, their eyes expectant. Eliza felt her heart race as she surveyed the crowd. Familiar faces mingled with strangers, each of them carrying their own stories. With Claire by her side, she stepped up to the counter. "Thank you all for coming," Eliza called out, her voice steady despite the butterflies swirling in her stomach. "Today is not just about our baked goods. It's about all of us, our stories, our struggles, and the legacy left by my grandmother." A hush fell over the room, everyone leaning in, hungry for more than just the treats. Eliza inhaled deeply. "These recipes are filled with love, but they also carry the weight of our pasts. I've learned that true baking isn't just about ingredients, it's about community." She glanced at Claire, who smiled back, an understanding melting the tension between them. Claire stepped forward, her voice clear and strong. "Together, we want to recreate the warmth Grandma brought to this town. We've even given a second chance to not only honor her memory but to build the future we both once dreamed of." Cheers erupted from the crowd, the sound lifting the weight from Eliza's heart. She felt the spark of joy ignite within, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. But as the applause faded, Eliza felt a rush of nervous energy. "And yes, there will be challenges," she said, firing a glance towards the door where Mrs. Jenkins had stood, her formidable presence casting a shadow. "But every challenge is an opportunity. We promise to embrace honesty, to rebuild the trust that may have been lost. No more secrets." Whispers of excitement rippled through the crowd. Sarah, a familiar face from the front row, called out, "We're with you, Eliza." With each word, it became clearer, they were not alone. Taking a deep breath, Eliza picked up one of her glowing cupcakes, holding it aloft like a symbol of hope. "This cupcake represents my grandmother's spirit, her joy, her love, and her resilience. We invite you all to join us in this journey. Let us bring the sugar rose back to life together." At that moment, she felt a shift. The bakery walls seemed to shimmer, a wave of warmth sweeping through the room, fueled by the collective belief of everyone gathered. Suddenly, the door opened again, and in walked Mrs. Jenkins, but this time her demeanor was different. There was a cautious curiosity in her step, less of a critic and more of an observer. Eliza's heart pounded, but she didn't falter. "Mrs. Jenkins," she said, her voice ringing stronger than before. "We want this bakery to be a place where everyone feels welcomed. We want to build something beautiful together." Mrs. Jenkins regarded her closely, her calculating gaze softened. "You think you can really change things around here?" "Yes," Eliza replied firmly. "With all of us. Every recipe shared is a story told. And stories bind us together." A murmur of agreement spread through the crowd, affirming Eliza's words with nods and smiles. Taking a deep breath, Eliza faced the assembly, her heart swelling with courage. "Let us start fresh. Who wants a cupcake?" Laughter bubbled through the bakery as hands shot up eagerly. As she began passing out the glowing cupcakes, she felt the tears stinging her eyes, tears of joy, tears of hope. The transformation she had longed for was happening in front of her. Not just for the bakery, but for her bond with Claire and their connection to the community that had nurtured them. Each cupcake disappeared, replaced by radiant smiles, laughter blooming like the first flowers of spring. Eliza glanced at Claire, who had tears shimmering in her own eyes as she helped distribute the treats. They had each other now, ready to face what lay ahead. Later, as the crowd continued to enjoy the flavors of their grandmother's legacy, Eliza felt lighter, as if the burdens that had weighed her down for so long were finally lifting. This was just the beginning. Gathered in the warmth of the sugar rose, they would inspire one another, bake together, and do the hard work of healing what had been broken. They were no longer just fighting for the past, they were building the future. Eliza turned to the jubilant crowd, heart swelling with gratitude, and thought to herself, this is how stories transform. Not just through recipes and pastries, but through resilience, community, and the love that binds them all together. The moment was pure magic, and they were ready to embrace it all. Now, if you love this incredible journey, you need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and comment your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means the world.